34 South Street in downtown Uniontown, located in the rear of the State Farm Building, 724-557-6184. We value your shopping experience here with us at Strap, so come on in, sit a spell, enjoy a refreshment, and a bag of peanuts. Strap, 724-557-6184. We're open Tuesday to Friday, 11 to 5, and Saturdays, 10 to 3. Convenient street parking right in front of our shop. You're sure to adore us, and you'll love our prices. Shop small, shop Strap.
It's a new day at WVU Medicine Uniontown Hospital, and we're bringing a new level of quality healthcare to our community. From primary care to specialty services, our team has always put patients first. And now, thanks to our merger with WVU Medicine, our commitment to patient-centered care has grown even stronger. With new resources, a growing staff, and advanced technology, our team is here to provide you with top-quality care when it matters most. Discover the new Uniontown Hospital and see how we've grown.
It's the early version of the Afternoon Drive Show on your local station, WMBS Uniontown. I'm Doug Saltzman. That's Nick Barczyk over there on the controls, keeping us on the air today. Nick, how are you?
Oh, great, Doug. Good to see you this early.
Yeah, I'm in and out early today. I'll be here on the air until 7 o'clock tonight. Pitt basketball tonight, what they're in, taking on the Hokies.
They're taking on the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech.
Oh, Georgia Tech. I thought it was Virginia
the Ramblin'
Tech.
Rack.
See,
One of those
This is why
Techs.
I'm not a reporter.
That's
right.
right.
When you're a commentator, you can make mistakes all the time. It doesn't
Absolutely.
matter. Okay, I thought
that's what I'm striving
I
for.
thought they were playing some Tech.
One of them down south.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
So they're
not
playing
Virginia
Georgia
Tech.
not Virginia Tech.
That's where James Franklin is now, the old Penn
that's
State
right.
coach, who I guess the Steelers can bring in now as their new head coach. He has a job already.
I suppose you're right. And the same thing applies, I guess, since the Steelers have the rights to Tomlin.
That's right.
If anybody picks him up, they have to pick up his salary.
Right. So there's that.
So the Steelers,
I don't think he's coaching
they're
anywhere
not
next year.
paying him for the next 2 years. I guess. Oh, no, because he wasn't fired. He quit.
Our next guest would know all these details,
I think you're
sure.
right, and we should get to him, I guess, before he hangs up. By the way, thanks for joining us on the Afternoon Drive Show. I'm Doug Saltzman again. Nick Barczyk over there. We are with you till 7 o'clock tonight. When Pitt is playing some team tonight, I'm not quite sure, but we'll get to that.
It's Pitt basketball.
Art Rooney today had his post-season news conference. The Steelers do that every 20 years when a coach leaves. So I guess that doesn't happen a whole lot. Rooney is certainly not the type to be standing on the sideline during a game. I like when you see owners doing that. But joining us right now on the WVU Medicine Uniontown Hospital talk line from the Tribune Review, Chris Adamski. Chris, thanks for joining us. First time you've been on our show. How are you today?
Oh, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's always an interesting day for me when you do my job. That I've like 6 months of being really busy, and then 6 months there was less. And then so I thought yesterday was the start of the okay, I get to relax a little bit. And then at 2 o'clock, about 2:05 p.m., everything changed, and now I'm really, really busier than even during the season. So
I appreciate you giving us 12 to 15 minutes. Mark that down.
That's all right.
Off the clock or on our clock, I guess. It came as somewhat of a surprise, but not a surprise. Probably more so than in recent years. The talk about Tomlin moving on. I mean, the Steelers simply don't fire people. They haven't fired someone since I was 5 years old in 1968. So it doesn't happen a whole lot with the Steelers. Were you surprised that he decided to move on as opposed to being fired, perhaps?
Well, I guess surprised but not shocked, I guess. Like if it would have happened almost any point up until now or this off season here, I would have been more toward the shocked. But there was definitely a lot more of a vibe and rumblings and that it was that, but almost from both sides. Of course, the fans, it seemed like the angst was building, but even from Mike Tomlin himself. And then Monday night after the game, the answer he gave, and listen, I didn't read too much into it. I didn't, but he definitely didn't give this strong endorsement that he wanted to come back, or he was offended that he got asked about coming back in his future or whatever. He sort of downplayed it, and that raised my antenna even more. So it wasn't a shock, but it was still a surprise, especially that quick. I mean, you realize he was leaving Acrisure Stadium after a playoff game, and we're talking less than, what are we talking, 9-10 hours later, he's in Art Rooney's office telling him he's resigned. I didn't think it would come that quickly for sure.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you want a coach who's going to leave to let you know as soon as possible so you can start the search, and it certainly seems to have started already. You were at the news conference today with Steelers president Art Rooney II. He met with the media, and the one comment he made that didn't come up in the statement that was released the other day was that Tomlin's decision to step down was family-related as opposed to a football decision. Were you surprised to hear that? And what else did Rooney have to say?
Yeah, I mean, it was the first kind of peek into it, whatever. I know there's a lot of speculation, rightfully so, that because, I mean, let's face it, a guy that's been around for that long with a team and has won a championship, no matter what level, college, pro, what it's sport, a lot of times you'll see the release come out and they'll try to paint it as they want to be respectful and not outright fire the guy or embarrass him. So you wonder when you see parting ways, there's a little bit of doubt. But I think Art Rooney was very upfront and repeated and pretty strong in his sense. They even was asked, he said he wanted to run it back in 2026 with Mike. And so I thought that was notable that he went on record saying that. Now, the one possible still out with that whole situation is, the reported 2027 option that they would have had to exercise here by March. And I guess it's still theoretically possible that the team wasn't willing to commit to that, and that made Mike quit essentially, or step down. So there's still a little bit of ambiguity, I guess, about that. But at the same time, it seems pretty clear that this was a Mike Tomlin decision, and whether it's just general burnout or whether it was, it ties together family related and spending time and everything. I think he kind of just saw maybe he's run its course, and he's a football lifer. Like I kind of pegged him that he didn't. I mean, he loves, man. That's one thing about Mike Tomlin. I get asked about Mike Tomlin a lot, what's he like and whatever. And the thing I always answer with is like, I want to love my job as much as Mike Tomlin loves his job. You know what I mean? Like he is beaming those first days of training camp. He is the happiest. He's bouncing on clouds because he's so happy to be the start of training camp in a new season and everything. So I didn't really take him as the type that was going to get burned out. But as of now, until something else comes otherwise, or he says otherwise, we'll take everybody at their word. And it was he's taking time off, and we'll see in the future if and when he gets back into coaching.
And looking forward now to the search, are there candidates that you think that the Steelers should target? They've already interviewed a few people, Chris Shula among them. Do you think it should be more on the offensive side of the ball after years of having a defensive-minded coach, or what do you think the Steelers should target?
Yeah, it seems like, everybody, a tie that binds the youth aspect of it. I mean, there's no one older than the mid-40s, the five people that they've reached out to so far, and goes all the way down to mid-30s. That's one trend, more so than the defense-offense thing, I think, from their past hires, that they've been guys in their 30s, all three, Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin, of course. And it's one I do kind of laugh at that, though, because we're establishing these trends from 57 years ago, right? It's like, I don't know how much you can make a trend that something happened that long ago and believe that it would still apply to the modern NFL right now. But the offense thing, I do think that if you look at where the Steelers have been and you look at some of the teams, I think it's pretty clear that there are a sect of, like the Vikings, the Rams, there's all, the Eagles at times, I mean, not this year, but of course, then again, they have their coordinators going to other jobs. The Colts coach or the Eagles coordinator, for instance, Colts are that are really innovative and kind of ahead of the curve offensively. And that's one area where the Steelers, I think, almost everybody would agree have been behind the curve, I think, on. So I do think there will be a tendency to certainly explore that, and whether or not that manifests in the head coach, a commitment from that head coach they hire. Let's say they hire, just throwing it out there, whatever, Brian Flores. I'm just going to get an interview, get out of the organization. I think there will be sort of not a mandate, but I think they want to hear, what I'm going to get an innovative offensive mind in here, turn the offense over to him. So whether it's head coach or not, I think that has to be part of building this thing going forward for the Steelers.
Doug Saltzman, Nick Barczyk, talking with Chris Adamski with the Tribune Review newspaper, also triblive.com. a longtime writer now. You've been covering the Steelers now for 12 years, a dozen years. And that's only 2/3 of the time Tomlin's been around, to give you some idea of how long Tomlin's been with the organization. Yeah, when some of the names that came up, and so far they've been reported, maybe Shieldhouse, who was the Rams passing game coordinator, defensive coordinator Chris Shula, Brian Flores, as you mentioned a moment ago, defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, obviously the Steelers struggled at times this year from an offensive standpoint, scoring 6 points in a playoff game, but at the same time, we have the highest paid defense in the league and one of the lowest performing defense in the league. Which direction do you think they need to go? An offensive-minded head coach or defense?
Yeah, I would think, especially what'll be interesting for sure about the defense, I think, is, and some of these things, the contracts don't lend themselves very well to moving on. So they're kind of, I don't want to say stuck. I don't want to go that far. I mean, these are still good players in their own rights. You know, you can go down the list of the high-paid defensive players they have. In terms, T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward's going to want another contract, I'm sure. After you did last summer, and they don't do things until 1 year's left. And Jalen Ramsey, they just gave a big raise to and acquired. And I mean, Saltzman on the second. There's a whole bunch of guys that make a lot of money on this defense. Joey Porter's going to need a second contract here coming up this offseason. Anyway, so you're right. There's a lot of resources devoted to the defense, and you're right. It's not they were in the bottom half defensively, ruling the league in most of the relevant categories, and that's something needs to get reset there. So it'll be interesting to see whoever they do. Like I said, whether it's a defensive head coach or whether it's an offensive coach and who they bring in to run their defense, how much they change things defensively and along with that, how much in terms of the personnel change, a different scheme and maybe different body types. You don't want this type of player or that type of player. They don't fit, whatever it might be. These conversations you're going to have with these, or these decisions you got to have with the players that are really associated with the Steelers, like T.J. Watt and Cam Hayward. I'm not predicting that they won't be back or anything like that, but it is just something that it'd be interesting to see how they approach that and how they, the higher paid players, the high profile players, whether or not they're with the organization and how they fit with whoever the new head coach or the new defensive coordinator is.
Yeah, and organizationally, it seems like the philosophy has been on the defensive side of the ball. That's where they spend most of their money. And really, for teams to win anymore, you have to focus more on the offensive side. So do you think even if they do bring in a defensive coach, I mean, you have to prioritize the offensive side of the ball? Do you think a new OC will be in? Is this it for Arthur Smith, Aaron Rodgers? I mean, how do you think that side of the ball will look next year?
Yeah, I definitely, I was kind of surprised he was so, not that I expected any to get the job or even be a serious candidate necessarily, but I was surprised at how open Art Rooney was about that no one on the current staff he sees as a candidate to be the head coach. And because maybe even as he was speaking, Arthur Smith's in Nashville interviewing to be a head coach of another team, right? So it was kind of that the Steelers don't even see him worthy of an interview to be the head coach. I thought was interesting, or at least notable. For sure. So along those lines, you would expect that if they don't see him as head coach material, that they're certainly not going to mandate to the next head coach to say, hey, keep this coordinator. And he would be under contract with the Steelers next year, so the Steelers have to eat that. But you would think that whoever the coach is probably going to have, whether he's an offensive guy himself or have somebody in mind to run his offense. And again, it's not as if the Steelers' offense the past couple of years has been either A, really good or productive, or B, really innovative or something. So at this point, odds are pretty good. I wouldn't think Arthur Smith is back. And, there'll probably be, especially if they do go with a young head coach, you would think that individual would probably want some holdovers from the previous staff, some experienced guys from the previous staff, and just sort of like Danny Smith is maybe an obvious one, right? Danny Smith has been with the Steelers for a decade. He's pretty good at what he does. He has ties to the organization and kind of the, quote unquote culture of the Steelers and all that. So that's just one name you throw out there. You think they keep some coaches, but I would think if you're a head coach and you're interviewing, and part of what's going to impress, you're going to want to have your own people running the offense and the defense, and part of what's going to get you through the interview process is, hey, I have this idea, this person, that person, is part of what Art Rooney and Omar Khan, they want to hear from these candidates. They're going to bring in their own people, almost certainly at both coordinator spots.
Maybe a gum chewing special teams coach might be back, but we'll see if that happens. You talked about contract issues. I read something today. I can't remember where I read it. It just seemed odd. They said the Steelers obviously have contractual control over Tomlin for 2 years because he has 2 years left on his contract. And the article said if someone picks him up, then they'd be responsible for part of his salary. Well, is that correct? I mean, surely they can't be responsible for somebody's salary, somebody who quit. They didn't fire him. It's not like a James Franklin issue with Penn State. He quit. He wasn't fired. So how could the Steelers, or maybe you don't know the answer to that, but it just seems strange the Steelers would be responsible for some of his salary.
Yeah, I mean, the way I understand it is that the Steelers obviously hold his rights. For the contract, quote unquote, Mike Tomlin owes them a season still. You know, he decided to resign or step down, so he still owes them that. The Steelers don't owe him money as of now. Now, all these contracts, it was like I kind of chuckled whenever it was brought up a couple of off seasons ago, whatever it was, that Mike Tomlin has a no trade clause in his contract, and I'm sure he does. I'm not chuckling at that idea, but the idea was that the Steelers, if that clause wasn't in there, would have traded Mike Tomlin to another team without Mike Tomlin's blessing or Mike Tomlin's wishes was ludicrous. There's no way that the Commanders, for whatever, would have taken Mike Tomlin like against his will. It would have to be Mike Tomlin had to be released and talked and interviewed and said, you know what, I really want to be there. And then you work out the compensation afterwards. So and that's kind of how this would all play out. So I don't know the specifics of what you're saying. You're right. But it's just like these things, there's contracts there. They all going to if next spring Mike Tomlin wants to coach again, I don't think the Steelers are going to be an iron fist. Nope, you owe us a year. You're coming back to us. I don't think that technically by the legal terms of the contract, Mike Tomlin could come back to the Steelers and say, hey, I'm contracted to you to be your head coach. I owe you a year. You know, you have to pay me for a year or let me be the head coach. In practicality, these things all work out. You know, they're not going to stay in the way if next March, for instance, or even this March, for instance, whatever. But then there'd be more compensation involved from the other team. There's precedent set. Both with Sean Payton, a first and second round pick, with John Gruden in the past, going from the Raiders to the Bucks. Payton went from the Saints, sat out a year, then went to the Broncos, and they had to give compensation to the Saints in order to get him. So these teams do that. They usually would. So if there is a scenario next year, and certainly this year, which doesn't seem like that's going to happen this year, but in a future year, the Steelers probably would get compensation from the other team. And then in terms of the money and all that, you know, at that point, the new team is willing to pay Tomlin, and you the contract kind of gets, you know, rewritten or voided or however you want to talk about it from that point on.
Yeah, you covered Art Rooney's news conference today. You're here on the Afternoon Drive show. I think you're done for the year. I guess we'll talk to you again when you report to Latrobe next year, so you can finally take some time off. Not quite, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, well, the NFL was masterful at making their lives or making their game a year-round. You know, they play 4 months a year, but they have events and free agency and you know, schedule release and the draft. Everything they do is an event, and there's always news trickling out some way or another. So, and then they're never totally off.
And then the chaos of the draft in Pittsburgh next year. So I'm sure you'll be covering that too. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, it's a whole new element this year of being here. That's right. For sure.
Chris Adamski from TribLive.com, of course, sports writer, has covered the Steelers for 12 years with the Tribune Review. Chris, thanks so much. We appreciate you taking time to talk about obviously the biggest topic there is right now here in southwestern PA. We appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure talking to you. Take care.
Thank you. Chris joining us again on the WVU Medicine Uniontown Hospital Talk Line. Thought we should talk Steelers right off the bat again today, considering that's the story of all stories. Top 10, tied for 9th all time in wins in NFL history with, of all people, Chuck Noll. They're tied.
That's right.
For that record. And you take a look at his career. Yeah, he won't be out of work for long. Maybe he'll take some time off. I think he's going to show up on TV. I'd be very surprised.
Oh, yeah.
If he goes back to coaching. They're always looking for somebody new. I don't know if he'd be an in-studio guy or doing color commentary for games.
We'll see. Absolutely.
Wait and
One of
see.
those roles.
Who
There's
would have
always
ever
plenty of
thought
jobs out there.
That Terry Bradshaw would have the career he did.
Oh, my gosh. He's been on TV my whole life.
Yeah, exactly.
30, 40
He's made a
years.
lot more money on TV. He said that than he ever did playing.
Right. Became more famous, maybe. There
No,
are people
absolutely.
that don't know that he
Oh,
played, I'm
oh,
sure.
Oh,
That
yeah.
are young.
Yeah, he hasn't played football since, 83, I think,
Yeah.
is when he retired. So, yeah, there's
Wow.
two generations now of people who've only known him on TV, despite the fact that he was an MVP in 2 Super Bowls and won 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah, that's right.
Back in the day. Well, we're really going to change topics coming up. We're going to switch over and talk with Rachel Langen. She's with the Commonwealth Foundation. She testified yesterday before the PA Senate Majority Policy Committee on a topic that's always top of minds for folks, and that's education throughout Pennsylvania. We'll talk to her coming up in a few moments. I'm Doug Saltzman. That's Nick Barczyk. We are with you today till 7 o'clock when we go to Pitt basketball tonight. They're taking on Georgia Tech, not Virginia Tech, as I said earlier. But first, this is the early edition of the Afternoon Drive Show on your local station, WMBS Uniontown.
Zen's Antiques and Home Decor, part of the Cinder Shack family of vendors where you can find both antique and new furniture, collectibles, housewares, gift items including jewelry and candles, and so much more. Follow Zen's Antiques and Home Decor on Facebook for new items and information on upcoming events. Zen's Antiques and Home Decor in Building 2 at 3391 National Pike in Farmington. Zen's Antiques and Home Decor.
We have your gifts to celebrate love, birthdays, anniversaries, special occasions, or all the above. Things that go bling, earring pendants and rings, all types of handbags, crossbodies, concealed carry, and slings, Western Southwest, boots, hats, and more, silver Zapata jewelry, fun fashion turquoise, it's a staple in our store. Strap, 34 South Street in downtown Uniontown, located in the rear of the State Farm Building, 724-557-6184. We value your shopping experience here with us at Strap, so come on in, sit a spell, enjoy a refreshment, and a bag of peanuts. Strap, 724-557-6184. We're open Tuesday to Friday, 11 to 5, and Saturdays, 10 to 3. Convenient street parking right in front of our shop. You're sure to adore us, and you'll love our prices. Shop small, shop Strap.
Looking to update your home? Koval Building Supply at 40 Monroe Avenue in Uniontown is more than your plumbing supply store. We specialize in kitchen and bathroom remodels that transform your space from outdated to outstanding. Our designers work with you to create the look you've always wanted with custom cabinetry, countertops, and flooring options to fit your style and budget. Call Koval today at 724-437-8824 or visit kovalsupply.com to plan your dream kitchen or bath. Koval Building Supply, everything you need to make your house feel like home.
It's a new day at WVU Medicine Uniontown Hospital, and we're bringing a new level of quality healthcare to our community. From primary care to specialty services, our team has always put patients first. And now, thanks to our merger with WVU Medicine, our commitment to patient-centered care has grown even stronger. With new resources, a growing staff, and advanced technology, our team is here to provide you with top-quality care when it matters most. Discover the new Uniontown Hospital and see how we've grown.
Route 21 Furniture, take the road to your perfect home.
Sleep well tonight. Try out a new mattress from Route 21 Furniture with a large selection of mattresses, all sizes and comfort levels, with great prices, free local delivery and setup, and financing options. Route 21 Furniture. Open weekdays 9 to 5, Saturday 10 to 5, Sunday noon to 4. 724-737-2222 or Route21Furniture.com.
Route 21 Furniture, take the road to your perfect home.
Now, you don't have to travel too far for medical marijuana products. Go to Local Leaf in Scottdale for a wide variety of locally grown and locally sourced products, plus your questions answered on medical marijuana, qualifying medical conditions, or how to register for your medical card. Local Leaf by PHG off Route 119 in Scottdale, 412-417-4964. Online at localleafpa.com. Local Leaf, your medical marijuana dispensary with locally grown and locally sourced products in Scottdale.
Okay, my New Year's resolution was to listen to my body, and my body says it's tired, coughing, and hates January.
Sounds like your body wants MontyMed same-day care.
I tried ignoring it. That was resolution number 2.
Let me guess, you Googled it?
Yeah, now I'm scared.
Let's not do that. I'm Kendall Soliero, a provider at Montgomery Medical. Walk in, get real answers, and start feeling better. No appointment needed.
Wow, a resolution I can actually keep.
New year, same germs. Walk into Montgomery Medical today.
Voted best in Fayette Auto Service and Tires, Tireman's Auto Garage is the place to go for used tires. Worried about your tires passing state inspection or winter driving? Tireman's Auto Garage has used tires, just $25 per tire, mounted and balanced to meet state inspection requirements. Whatever your tire needs, new or used, the cheapest prices and the best service are at Tireman's Auto Garage, with ACIMA leasing and SNAP financing available. Fully licensed and insured, Tireman's also offers tire recycling service. Top automotive specialists, Tireman's services include diagnostic service, alignments, oil changes, state inspections, batteries, brakes, rotors, and more. Driven by Tireman's Auto Garage lately? You've probably seen the 2, 4, and 6-seater golf carts that are for sale, with ACIMA leasing available, or ask Joe and Kim about rentals. Tireman's Auto Garage, Mill Street, with $25 used tire specials, new tires, golf carts, and more. Call 724-425-9606.
We want to thank Chris Adamski for joining us from the Tribune Review a few moments ago to talk about the story of the day of the year.
It's January, so hopefully there's other big stories.
14 years in, this is the biggest story we've covered so far.
This is it. We've had new presidents, new popes.
There's war, pestilence, that sort of thing, famine, but the Steelers coach quitting.
Famine.
It only happens 3 times since
Not to laugh about
1969.
famine. Yeah, that's right. That's an amazing
so it
mark.
doesn't happen too often. And in fact, we were supposed to interview our next guest yesterday, but we bumped her for this story. I hope she wasn't too offended that the Steelers coach quitting overrode the interview with her. But unfortunately, her topic is going to stick around for a while. It has been for many years. And there's been a lot of suggestions, a lot of policy analysis of it. And she was part of that yesterday. And joining us right now on the WVU Medicine Uniontown Hospital talk line from the Commonwealth Foundation Senior Education Policy Analyst, Rachel Langen. Rachel, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for letting us bump you yesterday to today's show. How are you?
I am fine, thank you. I do not mind being bumped. I am actually a Westmoreland County native, so I'm happy to be bumped for the Steelers.
Oh, it's good to have you have a native nearby. And being from this area, you certainly know that anything sports related here, especially a coach, I was joking earlier, I'm 62, so this is I was 5 the last time a Steeler coach was fired. They don't fire coaches. They let them move on to their life's work, as Coach Chuck Noll used to say. But let's talk about what you were up to yesterday. You testified before the Pennsylvania Senate Majority Policy Committee, and that's one of those interesting committees. I actually staffed that committee many, many years ago. I worked for State Senator Mike Fisher back in the day. A little different then. There were a lot fewer staffers in those days. Mike Fisher was a member of leadership. He chaired the Environmental Resources and Energy Committee, and then he was also chair of the Policy Committee. And I, as a, at that point, 23-year-old staffer, did the staffing for that Policy Committee. A little different now today. But first, before we start that, folks, this is not your standard type standing committee for the Senate. This is unique only to the Republicans. The Democrats have their own policy committee, and the Republicans have their own policy committee. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And what is the purpose of those committees? It's interesting. It's not the Education Committee. It's not the Labor and Industry Committee. It's not the Environmental Committee, Transportation Committee. These are very different, aren't they?
Right. It's the Majority Committee. So they typically look at policies that they have already enacted into law. How are those working? Or they're looking at a bill and they are wondering how this bill would play out, and they are looking for experts to give testimony on that. So in this case, we were talking about literacy because as part of the Pennsylvania budget that passed in November, there's a big literacy component included in that bill. So they've already committed to spending the money. So it was more of having expert witnesses come to say, like, yes, this was actually very necessary, and here's why.
Yeah. So what your committee, and you've shared some information about the stats from Fayette County, where our radio station is located, of course. But tell us about, you talked about declining scores. That was sort of the emphasis of your testimony before the committee yesterday, correct?
Correct. Yes. Just looking at test scores in Pennsylvania for reading and for, school-age children who are reading. And back in 2015, 6 out of 10 of Pennsylvania's elementary kids were reading on grade level. And then fast forward 10 years, only 4 out of 10 are reading on grade level. So we're actually looking at young adults who are getting high school diplomas but who are functionally illiterate, which makes it very difficult for them to order for menus, access health care, fill out a job application, and this ends up costing taxpayers money in additional healthcare costs. It perpetuates poverty. There's actually a link between illiteracy and incarceration. So it's a problem for everybody.
Yeah, it makes someone scratch their head to think that somebody could get a high school diploma who cannot read. Again, that's one of those things that, how do you get to that point? I've always joked with my kids. My grade point average in high school wasn't the greatest, but it seemed when I go to my daughter's high school graduations, I think 80% of the people were passing with honors, and they all had 4.0 grade point averages and more. Is it just an idea of grade inflation that this is happening? Not to knock down people who are bright. I'll be getting calls. Oh. She was so offended by my comment. I think she hung up on me.
Absolutely, yes.
Maybe she was in one of my daughter's classes. I don't know.
It happens.
Yeah, we were at least with Rachel Langen. Nick will give her a call back as he's shuffling through his papers to find the phone number I gave him. All right, Nick. We don't ask much of you over there, but that's okay. We'll get you back. You have the number over there? Give her a call. Why don't you shut off your mic while you're doing that?
Thinking of something clever to say, but you beat me, Doug.
Yeah, I can fill in the time between now and then. We're talking with Rachel Langen, Senior Education Policy Analyst with the Commonwealth Foundation. About once a month, we have a representative of the foundation on to talk about a number of different policies, from energy to transportation. Today, we're talking energy, and hopefully Rachel wasn't so offended by my comment about grade inflation that she simply hung up on me. I don't know. But Rachel, we're glad to have you back on the air. We lost you there for a moment. So back to my question. That issue that you mentioned, and I reiterated, the idea of somebody graduating from high school and not being able to read just seems mind-boggling.
Correct. I agree. I think there are a lot of reasons for that. We have taken the focus off academics in a lot of situations and filled the curriculum with other things, such as social justice issues, for example. We have not really looked at the difference between grades and learning, because I think kids get good grades, so their parents think like, oh, my kid's doing great. But we don't know if those children are actually learning and able to read. And I know people who have kids who have gotten A's in their AP classes, and then when they take the AP exam, they fail it. So these two things cannot be true, that you get an A in a class, but you fail the standardized test. So I think there are a lot of reasons for this, but from the Commonwealth Foundation's perspective, the solution to all of these problems is the funding education, so that if we funded every student to go to the school that best fits their needs, whether that's a public school, private, charter, cyber charter, homeschool, career technical school, those kids can get the education that they need. And in terms of the testimony I gave the other day, it was very focused on literacy, and there's a lot of focus on the work that it's going to take to get all 500 school districts in Pennsylvania pulling in the same direction to turn this ship around in terms of illiteracy. And my point to the committee was, if you have a private school or a charter school and they want to shift their literacy focus, it's much faster, much easier, because it's a much smaller group of students, much smaller group of teachers, costs less money, there's not as much training involved. And if the money followed the students, we would be taking kids out of an environment where they're not learning, and they could immediately go to a school where they would be learning. So that is our focus, is change the funding.
Another thing you just said there, too, catches my attention, of course. 500 school districts in Pennsylvania. There used to be more, believe it or not, folks.
Right.
And there were a lot of mergers in the 70s and 80s. There are states, such as Florida, or Virginia, rather, that have one school district per county in many cases. Mm-hmm. Is there just too much administration in school districts as opposed to faculty?
That's a great question. I would say overwhelmingly, I would say yes. However, I do think it's very dependent on the school district. There are 500 of them, and there are some that are doing a good job, and there are some that are huge and some that are small. So there's always an exception to the rule. But definitely, we have hired across the state more administrators over the last, say, 10 years, even as enrollment's declining, and that is problematic as well.
Yeah, Pennsylvania is famous. It has more elected officials than any other bordered entity on the planet, I'm told.
Wow.
And when you think about how many municipalities there are, Allegheny County has over 100 municipalities, everything from the city of Pittsburgh to places where there are less than 400 residents. In many cases, though, there are changes happening there. They're merging perhaps police departments, ambulance services, fire departments in many cases. But this idea of merging schools voluntarily just doesn't happen. I think there's been one school merger in Pennsylvania in the last 20 years. It was in Beaver County, which reduced the school districts from 501 to 500. Many years ago, I was with a consulting firm, and we had a candidate who announced publicly, without running it past anybody, that he wanted to visit during his campaign all school districts in Pennsylvania. And then we took him aside and said, this campaign's only got 9 months left. There's 500 school districts.
Oh, my gosh. That is hilarious.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I said, next time, maybe think those things through before you say it. And believe it or not, he did not get to all school districts in Pennsylvania, nor they probably wouldn't want him. I mean, usually school districts aren't open to candidates stopping by. But he didn't win the race. We'll just say that. But he did pay the bills for our consulting firm. So, such as that. As we talk with Rachel Langen from the Commonwealth Foundation, this ongoing issue of declining scores, where grades are going up and standardized scores are going down. It's not a new issue. It's been going on for a while. The unions, the teachers' unions, seem to be adamantly always opposed to standardized testing, correct?
Yes, typically.
Yeah. Now, you're not their spokesperson, naturally, but what is their argument against standardized testing? If you don't feel comfortable answering that question, I understand.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what their opposition is, to be honest.
Yeah, it's it's interesting too that seems to be the best way. SAT scores are always so critical, or ACTs. I remember taking, of course, the SATs in high school and realized maybe I'm not as bright as I thought it was when I saw the grades I was getting. But then you took the GMATs, and I took a prep course to take the GMATs to get into grad school. SAT scores, though, even especially during the pandemic, weren't being used as much as they used to for college admissions. Correct?
Correct, right. Yeah. And as a former teacher, former public school teacher, I felt at that time there was too much emphasis on the test and not enough emphasis on real world learning. And then as a parent, I agree with that. And so I feel like we do need to find the line in Pennsylvania between over testing, but still being able to get some data to show that kids are learning. And what we're doing currently isn't really working, but it's the best that we have. And unless or until everyone can agree on a different mechanism for assessing student performance, we're stuck with the annual standardized test.
I mean, there's tests on almost every level of. If you're going to medical school, you got to pass your boards. If you're getting a CPA exam, which I've always heard is even tougher than passing the bar exam, you have to get your CPA license. You have to pass that test. You have to pass the bar. To become a practicing attorney. So there's always those tests through life at various levels. Thankfully, there are no tests to host a talk show. Otherwise, I'm not sure if I'd be on the air. But again, this idea of what the Commonwealth Foundation doing is simply adding other avenues to correct some of these problems, correct?
Correct. Yes, putting the parents in the driver's seat. So if they want to send their child to a school where standardized tests are the norm, they can do that. If they want to pull them out and send them to a tiny school where it's all project-based assessments, they can do that too.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate. I have 4 daughters, and we've been very lucky. Our daughters went to a Catholic school to 8th grade, and then we were very pleased with the public school they went to for high school. And it just seems if you've got well-behaved kids, they seem to have a better high school experience. If you don't, they seem to be. I've talked to teachers who are retired who said, we're just happy to push them through when you have problem students. And that's a shame that happens, I suppose, correct?
Yep, for sure. And I would say that absolutely happens.
Yeah, and that's a shame.
I hear from people that would say that that's what's going on in a lot of schools, not all.
We only have a couple minutes left here. Take a moment and tell us about the Commonwealth Foundation. We have you and your colleagues on usually once a month. Folks may not be familiar with the foundation is and what it does.
Yeah, sure. So the Commonwealth Foundation advances in terms of education policy. We do have other policy areas, but I'll talk about education. We advance student-centered policy solutions that empower families and improve outcomes for all Pennsylvania students. So essentially what that boils down to is that we believe that a child's access to a high-quality education should not depend on their zip code. It should not depend on where they live. It should be in the hands of the parents to send that child to the school that's best for them.
Yeah. Rachel, thanks so much. We appreciate your joining us here on the Afternoon Drive Show. We've talked to you before, and we look forward to talking to you and your colleagues again on these topics. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye.
Hey, we're going to take a break here. Coming up, 5 o'clock news is coming up. That'll be followed by the local news, the stocks report, you name it. We're really bouncing around the topics today. Andy Masick's going to join us from the Heinz History Center after the news at about 5:20. He was scheduled to be with us tomorrow. A little mix-up here. We'll have him in today. Rob Owen then. Another writer from the Trib, but we're going to talk to him about the Golden Globes. They're expanding into podcasts and big changes for the Oscars coming up, and we'll talk about that coming up as well. Rob Owen will join us at about 5:35. He is the Tribune Review's TV writer and critic. Then we're going to talk some sports in the 6 o'clock hour. Steve Blass is going to talk to us. The Pirates alumni group lost a great guy. Dave Justy died at age 86. I never thought he got enough credit. We're going to talk to his teammate, Steve Blass. Then Bob Grove's going to join us, our monthly check-in with Bob. Of course, Penguins and NHL analyst and historian. We'll talk to him about the Penguins coming up. But first, this is the Afternoon Drive Show on WMBS.
When you are looking to make some extra cash for your aluminum cans, visit Cherokee Recycling, where aluminum can is king. Cherokee Recycling is open Monday through Friday, 9 to 4:30, and Saturdays, 8 to 12 noon, closed Sundays and holidays. Give Marcus or Braggs a call today, 724-439-3228, for Cherokee Recycling, where recycling makes the most sense.
439-2323. For 24-hour emergency service, call us when you need. We're Fayette's Heating and Air Conditioning, your service company.
Be prepared for bone-chilling winter weather. Have Fayette Heating and Air Conditioning install a Bryant high-efficiency furnace in your home to replace that old worn-out system you now have. Choose Bryant's Plus 90 gas furnace or other quality heating system to keep yourself and your family warm and toasty this winter. Fayette Heating and Air Conditioning will also keep your present furnace running at peak efficiency with their 15-point safety check and cleaning. Call Fayette Heating and Air Conditioning today for your appointment. 724-439-2323. That's Fayette Heating and Air Conditioning, your Bryant dealer, Route 119 north of Uniontown, located near Laurel Mall.
Call Fayette Heating and Air Conditioning, 439-2323, 439-2323, 439-2323, 439-2323.
Hello, Uniontown and Fayette County. This is attorney Erica Dowd of Quattrini Law Group. Are you a veteran suffering from a service-related disability or disease? Not all injuries are obvious or happen quickly. We've helped hundreds of veterans with conditions like PTSD, neuropathy, heart conditions, and cancers get the benefits they deserve, even when their conditions didn't start until many years after service. VA benefits can be paid for any condition that could have been caused or worsened by your service, from Agent Orange exposure, Camp Lejeune water exposure, burn pits, or physical injuries in the service. If you were disabled from your military service, we can help you. The consultation is free and no obligation. Call us today at 1-888-534-6016 or Google Quattrini Law Group. Again, this is attorney Erica Dowd from Quattrini Law Group, reaching out to veterans like
Okay, my New Year's resolution was to listen to my body, and my body says it's tired, coughing, and hates January.
Sounds like your body wants MoneyMed same-day care.
I tried ignoring it. That was resolution number 2.
Let me guess, you Googled it?
Yeah, now I'm scared.
Let's not do that. I'm Kendall Soliero, a provider at Montgomery Medical. Walk in, get real answers, and start feeling better. No appointment needed.
Wow, a resolution I can actually keep.
New year, same germs. Walk into Montgomery Medical today.
WMBS.
Now, that's a groovy liner music. Bring us out of the break there.
It's very groovy.
You're listening to the early version, the early edition of the Afternoon Drive Show. Came in a little after 4 o'clock today after the news. We'll be with you till 7 o'clock when we go to Pitt basketball tonight. As I mentioned right before the break, we're going to bounce around a lot of different topics we're going to talk to today. We, as promised, are having Andy Masick on today. We had a little mix-up yesterday. He was scheduled to be on with us. But there was other topics to talk about yesterday.
I would think.
Naturally. We talked about Steeler football and what's next. Art Rooney coming out today saying, not a whole lot, but saying, of course, he had to hold a news conference.
Of course.
He lost his head coach. But what do you expect him to say at this point? News is next on your local station, WMBS Uniontown. I'm Doug Saltzman. That's Nick Barczyk. 42 degrees right now outside our Davis & Davis Attorneys at Law studios.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper. A Danish official says a fundamental disagreement over Greenland remains with the White House after talks with Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Danish Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen.
We didn't manage to change the American position. It's clear that the president has this wish of conquering over Greenland.
I'm Linda Kenyon at the White House. The president says the U.S. has a very good reason to take Greenland.
We need Greenland for national security.
Speaking in the Oval Office, the president said if the U.S. does not take Greenland, other countries will.
If we don't go in, Russia's going to go in and China's going to go in. And there's not a thing that Denmark can do about it, but we can do everything about it.
The U.S. has military bases in Greenland, a semi-autonomous territory of Denmark. Linda Kenyon, CBS News, the White House.
On Iran, President Trump says he has learned this afternoon from
very important sources on the other side, and they've said the killing has stopped and the executions won't take place. There was supposed to be a lot of executions today, and that the executions won't take place.
This even as Tehran has signaled fast trials and executions ahead of its crackdown, that is on protesters. And in recent days, President Trump has told anti-government protesters in Iran that help is on the way and that his administration would act accordingly to respond to the Iranian government, but he has not offered any details about how the U.S. might respond. President Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, says the U.S. is moving into the next phase of the Gaza ceasefire plan. CBS's Olivia Rinaldi on what that involves.
Essentially, it's moving what's going on in Gaza from ceasefire to demilitarization. That would require Hamas to be giving up their weapons.
Witkoff also says the U.S. expects Hamas to immediately return the body of the final hostage. A federal 3-judge panel in California rules that Democrats can use their newly redrawn congressional maps under Prop 50 for the 2026 midterm elections. In a 2-1 decision, the judges rejected Republican claims that maps were drawn to favor Latino voters over other voting groups. A federal judge is declining to issue a temporary restraining order against ICE operations in Minneapolis for now. CBS's Allison Keyes.
The federal judge says the issues in the case are really important and gave the federal government until January 19th to respond. But Minneapolis City Council member Jason Chavez says agents are kidnapping people.
They go up to random people on bus stops and ask about their immigration status.
This a week after Renee Good was killed by an ICE agent and President Trump threatened the state with a day of reckoning and retribution. Allison Keyes, CBS News.
This is CBS News.
I'm Andrew Garrett. Follow and listen to The Takeout on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
If you are looking for a trusted local law firm with a strong commitment to their clients, look no further than Zebley Law Offices. Attorney Zebley has been practicing law in Fayette County for more than 4 decades. Although specializing in bankruptcy, Zebley also handles real estate matters, civil suits, collections, wills, powers of attorney, and more. If you need legal help, go with a name you recognize and trust. Call Zebley Law Offices today at 724-439-9200.
Businesses come in all shapes and sizes. Integrity doesn't. For more than a century, the Better Business Bureau has set the standards for how businesses should operate honestly and ethically. So when you're looking for a business you can trust, check to see who's BBB accredited and who isn't. Always choose the better business. Look for the BBB seal because it's looking out for you. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
New concerns are being raised about commonly used medications for pets. CBS's Jim Crisula.
Medications used for flea and tick control for dogs and cats may pose a significant environmental risk for insects, according to new research. Isoxazoline antiparasitic drugs are a new type of medication used by veterinarians worldwide. First launched in 2013, they became popular because they were the first orally administered drugs that worked against both fleas and ticks for a month or more. Jim Crisula, CBS News.
Activists say Starlink has dropped fees to help Iranian demonstrators share protest details globally. It follows Iran's shutdown of telecommunications amid the anti-government protests. Word is Starlink, which is banned in Iran, has been smuggled in since 2022. Activists report over 50,000 units are in use, disguised to avoid detection. Jennifer Kuiper, CBS News.
The award-winning local, district, and statewide news is brought to you by Clayton Homes of Bell Vernon. Is it time to find a home that fits your lifestyle? Visit Clayton Homes of Bell Vernon. You'll find special savings along with beautiful, energy-efficient homes packed with features you've been dreaming about at Clayton Homes of Bell Vernon, 4500 PA 51. And now the news.
Good evening, 5:05 on a Wednesday. I'm Nick Barczyk from the Davis & Davis Studios. Davis & Davis Attorneys at Law. Injured, call today for your free consultation. 724-437-2799, your local station. 590 and 101.1 WMBS. 40 degrees with some rain on this Wednesday, the 14th, and we'll get you the weather watch and sports in just a bit. Scams targeting utility customers are on the rise throughout Pennsylvania. State Attorney General Dave Sunday says fake utility websites are appearing in Google searches, luring customers into a scam. When a customer clicks on the website, scammers pretending to be employees make claims about past due payments, trying to scare people into turning over personal information or money. Another version of the scam involves fake phone numbers that customers use for payments, which the Attorney General's office gives scammers another way to get sensitive information. To avoid fake websites and phone numbers, Sunday said to look at your utility bill. The website and customer service number will be listed there. Instead of using a search engine, type the utility company's website into your web browser and call the customer service number directly, Sunday says. Work is ongoing on a new pedestrian bridge in Brownsville, Fayette County, where contractors are finishing the cement walkway adjacent to the historic cast iron bridge over Dunlap Creek. The older Market Street Bridge, a $9 million preservation project, has been closed since November 2024 and is expected to reopen by June. The cast iron bridge, built in the 1830s, was the first cast iron metal arch bridge in the United States. And authorities, state police charged a Connellsville man after a shooting this week in an East Huntington shopping plaza that sent a man to the hospital. The incident was reported around 1 in the afternoon Tuesday in Crossroads Plaza outside the Planet Fitness gym. Troopers said 38-year-old Stephen Held and the victim knew each other. Surveillance footage and 911 calls showed that Held had fled the scene in a black truck. A witness and the victim both said Held was the shooter. Held dialed 911 and said he was at the Connellsville police station, where he was taken into custody. He was denied bail. He's now in the Westmoreland County Jail. Pennsylvania is announcing more than $600,000 in grants for projects aimed at getting students ready for careers in agriculture. Pennsylvania Agriculture Secretary Russell Redding revealed the news during the Pennsylvania Farm Show in Harrisburg this week. Those grants include funding for projects in southwest Pennsylvania, mostly in Westmoreland and Allegheny counties. Preliminary numbers are showing a drop in ACA Affordable Care Act enrollment.
According to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, 22.8 million consumers signed up for 2026 individual market health insurance compared to the 23.6 million who enrolled around this time last year. The decline of roughly 800,000 people is an early indication that allowing the enhanced premium tax subsidies to expire caused people to defer signing up for health insurance. People have until January 15th to sign up for ACA marketplace plans, but several states have announced deadline extensions. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
More next on WMPS.
Is it time for your first home? Or time to trade up to a home that fits your lifestyle? It's time to visit Clayton Homes of Bell Vernon. You'll find special savings along with trade-in and trade-up deals. Imagine beautiful, new, energy-efficient homes packed with the features you've been dreaming about. Trade in and trade up at Clayton Homes of Bell Vernon, 4500 PA 51. Trade-in value toward purchase of a new home determined by resale value and evaluation by home center manager. Additional deposit may be required.
In sports, we have Pitt basketball tonight down in Atlanta taking on Georgia Tech at tip-off at 7 on WMBS. Steelers president Art Rooney II met with the media today, one day after head coach Mike Tomlin resigned after 19 seasons with the team. Rooney said it was Tomlin's decision to step down and it was a family-related decision. Rooney said Tomlin said he won't coach in the near future. Rooney and general manager Omar Khan will lead the search with assistance from others in the organization. And the Steelers reportedly want to interview 3 people for their head coaching vacancy. National outlets report the team requested interviews with Rams passing game coordinator Nate Scheelhaus and defensive coordinator Chris Ashula. The Rams have a playoff game in Chicago Sunday. Also, Brian Flores will be interviewed by the Steelers, the defensive coordinator for Minnesota. Flores worked on the Steelers staff in 2022. And now the weather watch for all of southwest Pennsylvania on this Wednesday. Some rain and 40, went up to 45 today. Chance of some snow flurries in the evening. Low down at 18 above tonight, 20 on Thursday. Low at 15 tomorrow night. Warming up a bit to 40 on Friday, but back down to 35 with a chance of flurry Saturday. Low at 15, only at 21 the high Sunday. Low at 15, very cold Monday. High at 23 and the low at 7 above Monday night, Tuesday. Only going up to 16 with a low at 13, but sunny skies, but going to be very cold into the middle of next week. Right now, though, rain and 40 degrees at 5:10 on a Wednesday. Good evening from the Davis & Davis studios at WMBS Uniontown. I'm Nick Barczyk. On the way next, the Stock Report, and then more of the Afternoon Drive Show with Doug Saltzman on WMBS.
The local, district, and statewide news was brought to you by Clayton Homes of Bell Vernon. Is it time to find a home that fits your lifestyle? Visit Clayton Homes of Bell Vernon. You'll find special savings along with beautiful, energy-efficient homes packed with features you've been dreaming about at Clayton Homes of Bell Vernon, 4500 PA 51.
Good evening. This is Janine Herron of Janney Montgomery Scott here in Uniontown, bringing you today's closing stock market report. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was down 42.2 points, closing at 49,150. The Nasdaq Composite was down 238.1 points, closing at 23,472. And the S&P 500 index was down 37.1 points, closing at 6,927. Among companies of local interest, Apple closed at $259.96, down $1.09. Amazon, $236.65, down $5.95. Cisco closed at $74.41, down $1.06. Boeing, $242.61, down $1.94. Caterpillar closed at $638.75, up $2.22. Disney, $113.53, up 55 cents. ExxonMobil closed at $130.20, down $3.66. First Energy, $46.15, up 85 cents. Johnson & Johnson, $218.55, up $4.90. Home Depot, $375.95, down $3.79. Intel closed at $48.72, up $1.43. McDonald's, $308.13, down $1.31. Meta Platforms, $615.52, down $15.57. PNC Financial Services closed at $212.32, down 13 cents. Raytheon Technologies, $198.84, up $4.76. Rockwell Automation, $417.21, up 33 cents. Tesla closed at $439.20, down $8. Verizon, $39.83, up 82 cents. And Walmart closed at $120.04, down 32 cents. Recapping, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was down 42.2 points, closing at 49,150. The Nasdaq Composite was down 238.1 points, closing at 23,472. And the S&P 500 index was down 37.1 points, closing at 6,927. From the Uniontown office of Janney Montgomery Scott, LLC, member FINRA, NYSE, SIPC, where we serve all of your investment needs. This is Janine Herron.
Zen's Antiques and Home Decor, part of the Cinder Shack family of vendors, where you can find both antique and new furniture, collectibles, housewares, gift items, including jewelry and candles, and so much more. Follow Zen's Antiques and Home Decor on Facebook for new items and information on upcoming events. Zen's Antiques and Home Decor in Building 2 at 3391 National Pike in Farmington. Zen's Antiques and Home Decor.
Chris Parker Jr., it's a new year and a great time to save at Autoland on a new Hyundai.
All with the quality that lets Hyundai offer America's best warranty. Hyundai owner assurance with 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain protection, 5-year, 60,000-mile bumper-to-bumper protection, and unlimited roadside assistance. We still have a great selection of new vehicles at pre-tariff prices and 0% financing. Or how about leasing a 26 Elantra SE for $199 per month? Or 26 Kona SE crossover for $219 per month. Just see us for details.
Conveniently located in downtown Uniontown and family-owned for over 60 years, Autoland Hyundai has been voted Best in Fayette Import Dealership and one of the best new car dealerships. Another reason is dealing with friendly hometown salespeople, and the third reason is Autoland's award-winning service department, who will continue to take care of you and your Hyundai after the sale.
You can also visit us at AutolandHyundai.com. And remember, you always pay less to drive the best at Autoland Hyundai.
You may have noticed a new internet company knocking at your door with claims like, "I'm not here to sell you anything," or "I wouldn't lie to you." The truth is, Armstrong has played an important role in your community for decades, and we're not going anywhere. That new internet provider will probably change their name, get bought out by another company, or fold completely. Armstrong, the internet you count on, the people you trust. Visit ArmstrongOneWire.com today or anytime in the future.
Do you wake up every morning with an aching back? Is it time to replace your mattress? Purchasing a new mattress can be expensive, but more than that, it can be confusing. There are just so many choices. At Chesler's Fine Furniture, sales associates can help you find the perfect mattress set at an unbelievable value. One of the truly great things about brick and mortar stores is that, at the very least, you know where they are and where they are likely to be for a while. At Chesler's, you can test the firmness and quality of every set on display. Shop now and find everyday low prices. Credit terms are available with 90 days same as cash with a minimum purchase. Chesler's Fine Furniture, Route 51 in Uniontown, the store you know and trust, where customers send their friends.
I guess, Nick, there are other things we can talk about on the air besides Mike Tomlin stepping down as Steelers head coach.
I guess.
It just doesn't happen that often.
No, it's very rare. Popes have been more. There have
been a lot more popes than there have been.
Definitely more presidents.
Well, how many popes have there been since 1969?
More than 3 or 4.
Oh, yeah, it's been more than 3. Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Steelers will have just their 4th coach since the 60s in a few weeks. I'm sure it'll be a few weeks or so. But yeah, that's amazing.
And unless something goes horribly awry, I'm 62. Could it be the last coach in my life?
Well,
I hope I live past 82.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if past history repeats itself, yeah, he'll be here a long time.
I remember hearing some on some sports talk show guys who think they know everything say, well, the days of people serving that long, Tomlin will never be here as long as Noel or as long as I can't think of his name, for heaven's sake. Bill Cowher, and he beat them both.
He did, absolutely. But you never know, times do change, and yeah, Harbaugh, he was there a long time in Baltimore. They parted ways, and now Tomlin leaving Pittsburgh. It could be the end of an era of coaches staying that long, but maybe the next guy will stay 25 years. You never know.
And the difference is Harbaugh was fired.
He was, yes.
And maybe Tomlin was too, but that's just not how the Rooneys do things.
No.
And I would have to think it makes hiring a new coach easier.
Yes.
If they know how they're going to be treated.
Absolutely.
Like if things aren't going well, I'm going to be able to resign.
That's right. And the job security is unmatched now. Is it a great job in terms of personnel? The quarterback, they don't really have one right now. I doubt Rodgers will come back, so they don't have that franchise guy unless you believe in Mason Rudolph, and he's been fine in his stead, in his tenure. But I mean, there may be better jobs out there, but when it comes to job security and how the organization treats you, they're unmatched.
Aaron Rodgers made it very clear how much he likes Tomlin, so maybe that's an indication. When I brought it up earlier, people here in the station were laughing at me when I said, "Will Rodgers be back?"
I doubt it at this point, considering his age and Tomlin leaving. So I'm sure that will affect his decision.
Unless he plays a role in who the next head coach would be, but I don't think the Steelers do that sort of thing. They're not going to let a guy who might only play 1, at most 2 more years if he came back, decide who. This is not Mario Lemieux who as a player said, okay, this is who I want as my head coach.
Right. And Rodgers is a future Hall of Famer, but still not really a Steeler. He's been here a year. He's more known for being with Green Bay. But yeah, this is an Art Rooney II, Omar Khan decision, the owner and general manager. And we'll see what happens. There could be other changes. New quarterback, quick. New offensive coordinator, maybe. We'll see.
The Steelers don't seem the type to drag things out.
No, it'll be quick. And when a decision is made, there'll be smoke billowing from the Southside complex, just like at the Vatican.
I think
and they'll bring them out on the balcony, and people will wave their towels.
Years ago, where was that? They hired a new something, and people had white smoke going up. People were all offended by it.
Of course.
I don't think the Pope would laugh at that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Have to have a sense of humor. And with the draft being in Pittsburgh, this guy will be front and center.
Yeah, when is it's
the last weekend of April.
It's
coming
April?
up.
Wow.
You need to know so you can avoid downtown
it's
Pittsburgh.
Mind-boggling
and the
that
south
it could.
North side, I mean.
It's just a very wild estimate as to how much this is going to bring in financially for the region. 115 to 215 million. So at least 100 million is going to crank into the city.
Absolutely. And it's a 3-day event.
I'm not even sure, like when I was like a kid, we'll say, teenager.
Yeah, 20s,
in 20s, whether I'd want to be in that crowd.
No, I'm a younger guy. I'm not overly excited. I might go down just to see the spectacle, but it's going to be a nut house, an absolute nut house.
Yeah, when I bowl every Monday night, and guys the other night were talking after bowling, hey, you're going to come over and watch the game. They were going to a local bar. And I said, I don't like watching games in bars.
I don't either.
I like
especially
to sit
big games
in my chair, so I can hear the analysis, and I don't want to hear 50 other people giving analysis.
I don't exactly. For big games, no. I want to be home as well.
I like to sit there and I want to watch it. That's and the beer's a lot cheaper.
Absolutely, it is.
Not that you shouldn't partake in local bars.
Absolutely not. Partake,
especially those who advertise on our station.
Oh, absolutely. Potters, yes.
Yeah, but I just don't. I don't like watching games in bars. A little different way of doing things. Speaking of sports, coming up in the next hour, in the 6 o'clock hour, we're with you till 7 o'clock. We're going to check in with Steve Blass. We're going to talk to him about his now late teammate Dave Justy. Then we're going to talk to Bob Grove about Penguins hockey as well. But joining us right now on the WVU Medicine Uniontown Hospital talk line, the president and CEO. And the happiest, I've never known anybody who loved his job more than this next guy. Maybe Rick Seaback loves his job, but this guy's right up there with that. From the Senator John Hines History Center, President and CEO Andy Masick. Andy, thank you for joining us. I guess I can still say Happy New Year. It's only the 14th. I don't know how long I can say that. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, this is a special year coming up. It's the 250th anniversary of the United States of America, and we're going to celebrate the semi-quincentennial. That's what they call it, 250 years in Latin.
Yeah, I hear. Yeah, bicentennial flowed very easily back in the day, I think.
Yeah.
This one, I think 250 years, I hear that more and more often. But, of course, it makes me feel old. I'm 62 years old, and I've always loved history. I'm more of a history geek than a buff. I don't think I've ever hit the history buff level. That's special. But this, I think about all the essays I had to write in junior high about the bicentennial. I guess I don't have to write those essays this time around about the 250th anniversary of the United States, which, it's going to become like every advertising gig, all this stuff. But it is absolutely amazing when you think of it, that there's no country in the world that has been under the same form of government for that much time. That's something America truly should be proud of, correct?
Well, the United States was formed on ideas. It wasn't a monarchy. It wasn't an inherited form of government. It was a group of people who got together for common cause. And they really did believe in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that the government by the people of the people, by the people, and for the people was the best way to govern a nation. And there hadn't been a nation before then that was formed on those principles. So I think that this has been a successful experiment for the first 250 years. It has launched many other democratic republics around the world. The United States was the first. And I think we're still the gold standard. Whatever you think about how our government works or doesn't work sometime, we're still the gold standard for democratic republics. So we have something to be proud of, but we need to look back and remind ourselves what that founding generation had in mind and see if we're still true to those principles.
The great quote, of course, by Winston Churchill, that democracy is the worst form of government ever conceived, except when you compare it to all the other forms of government.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a classic quote from a classic guy, that's for sure. Well, lots of...
But Doug, you talked about writing essays in junior high school, and history isn't always everyone's favorite subject when they're in grammar school or high school. But, you know, the older we get, the more we start appreciating the people who came before. And there's more to history than dates and wars and presidents. At the Heinz History Center, we have the Western Pennsylvania Sports Museum, which has just been renamed for Franco Harris as the Franco Harris Sports Museum. And it's all about our sports traditions and why we are the way we are, and collegiate sports and high school sports as well as professional sports. So there's a lot more to history than, you know, you learned in school.
Exactly. And I've been to the Heinz History Center. I was there the day the ribbon was cut. I've been there every year since it's opened. We've been members for many, many years. And, my kids would be getting in the car, usually on weekends, and my kids would say, "Okay, Dad, where are we going today?" And they knew it had something to do with history. And I took them to every possible historic site, and we've been at your museum so many times over the years. We have pictures of them, of course, sitting in the racer car from Kennywood at various ages over the years. At one point, my kids put a bumper sticker on the back of my car that said, "Caution, this vehicle stops at all historic markers."
Right.
And it turned into, so out of my four daughters, one was a history major, education major. The other one was getting married and wanted to hold her wedding reception at your location. Unfortunately, It wasn't available the day they had already scheduled to be married, because they had to reserve another historic spot, Heinz Chapel, for their wedding.
That's not too shabby.
Yeah.
We do about 90 weddings a year at the Heinz History Center, and we're very proud that just recently we were named the #1 history museum in America by USA Today and the readers of USA Today. And, there was some stiff competition out there with the Smithsonian museums and the National World War II Museum. And here in Pittsburgh, we've got world-class museums like the Carnegie Museums. But the people of America saw fit to name the Heinz History Center the #1 museum. And just recently, we went free for kids. So if you're 17 or under, you can come to the History Center for free. And what we've seen is a spike in youth attendance, nearly a 50% increase in kid attendance just in the last few months, and that just warms our hearts.
And now there'll be a line for that slide right next to your cafe, no doubt, for kids waiting to get down there.
We do have a corkscrew slide that goes up to the second level where we have Kidsburg, where kids can milk a cow or serve faux ice cream or build a city, and then you can come screaming down the Liberty Tube, we call it, into our great hall from the second floor mezzanine. So there are things for kids to do. But for adults, right now they're enjoying our Pittsburgh's hidden history. That's what we call an exhibit about Western Pennsylvania's quirky traditions. And you can learn about everything from Primanti's to see the key to Fort Pitt to Napoleon's death mask. There's all kinds of weird and wonderful things on exhibit.
Yeah, we're talking with Andy Masick, President and CEO of the Senator John Heinz History Center. And somehow you're reading my show notes here because you're going through all the topics I wanted to bring up. So that's terrific, especially being named the best history museum in America. And I know you've been, you're back on the ballot, we'll put it that way. And we want our listeners to vote and vote early and vote often, which is perfectly legal in this scenario. You can vote once a day from all of your different devices. So if folks want to vote for the Heinz History Center, how do they do that?
Well, they just have to go to USA Today 10 Best. Just Google that, and you'll see a voting sheet. The editors or the reporters for USA Today scoured the country and came up with their 20 best museums in America. And we were fortunate enough to be on that list. And then it's up to the people of America to vote their favorite choice. And the deal is you can vote once a day for the next 2 weeks. And for your favorite history museum, and we hope that you'll check the box for the Heinz History Center.
Oh, piece of cake. We'll get our listeners to crank up on that one, especially vote every day, because people would like to vote more than once. And here they can actually do it. They can do it legally. Another feather in your cap, Andy, of course, was your reaccreditation for the American Alliance of Museums, which is a very, very elite group. Am I right? Only 3% of museums get accreditation from that organization? That's amazing.
You're right. There are nearly 30,000 museums in America, but there are only a little bit less than 1,000 accredited museums. That means they meet the standards for best practices in all areas. So it might be in exhibitions and collections, but also governance and fundraising and programs and ethics. So we are delighted to have been recognized by the American Alliance of Museums. That's the professional organization that really serves all the museums in America as one of those accredited museums. So if you see that on any museum, if on their door it says accredited by the AAM, it means they meet the highest standards for museums.
Only 3%, which is amazing, and congrats on that. You know, you mentioned a moment ago, of course, renaming the Sports Museum for Franco Harris, and who better? You think about the role he's played in the history of Pittsburgh. And when you talk about the history of southwestern Pennsylvania, of western Pennsylvania, sports plays a role. It's not just a game. This is history in Pennsylvania. And I remember being at the event when Franco Harris handed to you the spikes he was wearing when he caught the Immaculate Reception. And I remember...
That was an historic day. You were there. I forgot.
Yeah, I remember. I asked you later. I said...
He gave us...
Go ahead. No, go right ahead.
He gave us the shoes that he was wearing on December 23rd, 1972, when he made the Immaculate Reception. That really changed the fortunes of the Steelers franchise, from the lovable losers, as they were known in those days, to one of the greatest sports franchises in NFL history. And that play that he made when they were playing the Oakland Raiders for that playoff spot, when Terry Bradshaw took that snap in the last 20 seconds of the game. The Steelers are behind, and Terry has to scramble out of the pocket. He sees Frenchie Fuqua downfield. He fires a shot at Frenchie. Jack Tatum of the Raiders slams into Frenchie, knocks him head over heels, and the ball bounces up in the air, and Franco Harris comes out of nowhere, makes a shoestring catch, and rumbles into the the end zone, shocking everyone in the stadium. I mean, I think many of the Steelers fans were about to call it quits and go home. The chief had already gotten in the elevator to go downstairs to the locker room to console the team on this loss when the stadium almost shook apart as the fans rushed the field to congratulate the Steelers. The immaculate reception. That's what Myron Cope, the great sports commentator, called it, and the name stuck. And now it's considered the greatest play in NFL history. Yeah. Well, we have those shoes, and we have a whole exhibit on Franco Harris in the Franco Harris Sports Museum on the second and third floors of the Heinz History Center.
Yeah. Art Rooney Sr., of course, the chief, after Myron started calling it the Immaculate Reception, called the Bishop of Pittsburgh at the time, Bishop Leonard, and said, of course, the Rooneys are 120% Catholic, and said, Bishop, is this okay that we're calling this game a name very close to your Immaculate Conception? And the bishop said, oh, absolutely. That's fine. No problem at all. So they got the blessing from the bishop.
You know your history, Doug. That's exactly right. Yeah. And I used to talk to Dan Rooney about this, and he said, yeah, we weren't comfortable with it at first, but the name caught on, and now the Steelers embrace it. And when you come to the new Pittsburgh International Airport, they have a temporary installation of the Franco figure that the History Center created, but it's going to find a permanent home there, I think, in a really good spot as you return to Pittsburgh, because people, when they see that Franco figure at the airport, they say, you know what, now I'm home. You know, it's become a Pittsburgh tradition to have a selfie with Franco at the airport.
Yeah. Once again, Andy Masick is reading my show notes here. I was going to bring that up, and it gives you an example of how well Pittsburgh knows their history, especially their sports history. That on the very first day the new terminal opened, that display showed that there were 0 seconds left in the game when Franco scored that touchdown. And immediately people said, that's not right. There were 5 seconds left when he scored that touchdown. So that's how well Pittsburghers know their sports, that they would know.
They take it seriously. Right. There's no question
that's not
about
right.
it.
There were 5 seconds left. And that was the very first day the new terminal opened up.
Well, what do you think it is, Doug? Is it something in the water here in Western Pennsylvania that we are the cradle of quarterbacks? More NFL Hall of Fame quarterbacks have been from Western Pennsylvania than any place else on the planet. And the city of champions, that doesn't just happen. There's something about the competitive spirit, the work ethic, the traditions of Western Pennsylvania that instills this competitive edge here. What do you think it is? You've grown up here.
I've lived here my whole life, and that's why people know. Just the other day, I'm bowling on Monday night, in a bowling league I've been in since 1979. And we were talking that Monday was the anniversary in 1969 when Joe Namath and the Jets won the Super Bowl over the Colts, 16-9. But there's an example. I'm not sure how many other cities would have a bowling league where people would be talking about another team winning the Super Bowl because the guy is from our region. And and Namath has come back to his high school over the years. And that was, in fact, how long ago was that? They didn't even call it the Super Bowl then. It was called the AFL NFL Championship. Thanks, Nick. And then they renamed it Super Bowl III. But yeah, when you think about that and what sports means to this area, especially, my father, classic Pittsburgher, worked in the steel mill for 30 years. And the 70s, the 80s were a tough time for heavy industry in this region. And we wrapped ourselves around sports. The Pirates won 6 division titles, 2 World Series. The Steelers won 6 division titles and 4 Super Bowls. It was something to grasp to when this region was struggling. And I think that's why people tie in so closely to it, because it meant so much to this region at a time when we were really struggling.
That's a good observation. And we're the only city in America where the the three major sports teams have the same colors. This black and gold theme that was adopted from the Earl of Chatham, William Pitt. All those many years ago, more than 250 years ago, those were his colors. And so Pittsburgh has really, I don't know, instilled this tradition in the people of the region, and it just reinforces our pride in so many ways.
Yeah, when you think, of course, the Penguins were blue and white for many, many years, and they decided at one point, okay, we're going to switch over to black and gold. And the Boston Bruins objected because they were already black and gold. But the Penguins' argument was, wait a minute, we had a team back in the early part of course, the NHL started in 1917. Pittsburgh had a team back then, not the NHL. Yeah, the NHL started in 1917. They had a team back then that was black and gold. So, yeah, they said, no, we have the right to wear black and gold.
Grandfathered in.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how they got in, and to have that as black and gold. And just the history of a coach like Mike Tomlin coaching for 19 years, that's historic, for heaven's sakes, when you think about the Steelers having three coaches since 1969. Really unheard of. As you can tell, I love this stuff. I would love to work at a history museum, as you can tell. And
well, come on down. We have some volunteer openings. We're going to be opening an exhibit this summer called Planet Ice. It's going to be about the peopling of the Americas, how people during the last ice age arrived here. And we need some volunteers to help throw the atlatl, the prehistoric spear thrower, in the exhibit and help young people learn about the rich history and traditions of our region.
I have thrown the atlatl, I believe, at the
at Meadowcroft?
At Meadowcroft Rock Shelter. Yeah, a friend of mine and I were throwing it there one day, and I've been there multiple times. I've taken my kids there over the years, and of course at the Fort Pitt Museum. We're going very long with this interview, Andy, and I really appreciate you giving us so much time. So let's finish off with the Heinz History Center is redoing the Fort Pitt Museum in time for the draft, correct?
It's true. You know, Fort Pitt Museum is right at the Point State Park. And that's where Pittsburgh began in 1758 when George Washington and General Forbes rode in and found the smoldering ruins of Fort Duquesne, the French fort that had preceded it. It was Washington who said to Forbes, what are we going to call this place now that we've got it from the French? And Forbes said, well, we can't call it Duquesne. That sounds way too French. Why don't we call it Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh. And that's why Pittsburgh has an H on it. It's like a Scottish borough, not a German burg. And Lord Pitt, William Pitt, was the Secretary of State for the British Empire and in charge of North America. So Forbes and Washington named the community for their boss. And that's how Pittsburgh began. And we have a museum there that's going to tell the story of the American Revolution on the frontier, because the Ohio country, as they called it then, was the frontier during the American Revolution in 1776.
Yeah, I remember years ago when there was a flood that came and inundated the Point, including water going into that museum. I was over I worked for Blue Cross at the time, just a couple blocks away, and somebody called and said, we need some help over here. And we gathered a bunch of people at Blue Cross and ran over to the Point to help move things to the second floor that could be moved.
Wow, I didn't know you were part of that rescue team.
Yeah.
That really was quite a flood, and many of the artifacts and the wonderful diorama that's on the first floor of the Fort Pitt Museum had to be lifted up out of the flood waters.
Yeah, I remember I was running around gathering people up. Didn't go over too well with some of the bosses that I was dragging people out of work, but when they found what we were doing, they were okay with it, that we were helping. And we got out of there just in time. It's hard to believe when you go down there to think water came up that high.
Right.
Back in those days. Andy Masek, President and CEO of the Senator John Heinz History Center, a great facility named for a great man. I worked for Senator Arlen Specter back in the day. Of course, he was a colleague and friend of John Heinz. I had a chance to meet John Heinz many times over the years at events, and the perfect person to have that History Center named for. And we appreciate, Andy, you're taking time to join us today. Thanks. Forgive all my enthusiasm here.
I hope to see you at the History Center soon as we celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States of America.
I'll stop by. I'll try to get on your calendar to say hello. All righty. Andy, thanks so much. Have a good evening.
You bet. You too.
Thank you. A great guy, Andy Masek. He does love his job and has done just an extraordinary job with the History Center there. We're going to take a quick break. We come back. We're going to talk to Rob Owen, Tribune Review TV writer and critic, about the Golden Globes and other things happening in television. Stick around.
Looking to update your home? Koval Building Supply at 40 Monroe Avenue in Uniontown is more than your plumbing supply store. We specialize in kitchen and bathroom remodels that transform your space from outdated to outstanding. Our designers work with you to create the look you've always wanted, with custom cabinetry, countertops, and flooring options to fit your style and budget. Call Koval today at 724-437-8824 or visit kovalsupply.com to plan your dream kitchen or bath. Koval Building Supply, everything you need to make your house feel like home.
This is attorney Michael Mays of the Davis & Davis Law Firm. We have been helping injured people just like you recover millions of dollars for over 45 years. If you're hurt or injured, I want to meet you and make sure you get the money that you deserve. Call me at 724-437-2799 for your free consultation. The Davis & Davis Law Firm has been protecting our neighbors in Greene and Fayette counties for over 45 years. Go to davisanddavislaw.com or call 724-437-2799 for your free consultation.
It's a day that ends in Y, so it's a day that you might decide you don't want to cook. That means it's the perfect day to order Fat Angelo's. Offering delicious pizzas, salads, hoagies, strombolis and calzones, wings, and more. And with 12 locations across the area ready to serve you, today is the day to visit FatAngelosPizza.com, where you can quickly and conveniently find your local shop and place your order online. Or get the local phone number and give them a call. Order up!
Route 21 Furniture. Take the road to your perfect home.
Sleep well tonight. Try out a new mattress from Route 21 Furniture with a large selection of mattresses, all sizes and comfort levels, with great prices, free local delivery and setup, and financing options. Route 21 Furniture. Open weekdays 9 to 5, Saturday 10 to 5, Sunday noon to 4. 724-737-2222 or Route21Furniture.com.
Route 21 Furniture. Take the road to your perfect home.
Well, much cooler temperatures are here, but you could still enjoy your deck or patio with retractable or fixed awnings from Lifetime Awnings. Made in the USA with manufacturer and customer guarantees, Lifetime Awnings products last. Lifetime Awnings is veteran-owned and operated with a 10% discount to all military veterans and their families. Call Lifetime Awnings 724-554-6067 for a no-cost or obligation home consultation. Or email John, the owner, at lifetimeawningsusa@gmail.com.
Bad hair day? Bad day at the office? Bad day behind the wheel? Hey, stuff happens, even to the best of us. At least your car insurance rate doesn't have to take a hit. Get Erie Rate Lock from Erie Insurance. Gives you a great rate that stays put until you change a car, driver, or your address. Plus, seriously good service. Now that's something to smile about.
Your Erie agent in Uniontown and Ross Traver Township is Sproul's Insurance Group, 724-437-9812, or go to sproulsinsurance.com.
Erie Rate Lock does not guarantee continued insurance coverage and is not available in all states.
CareerLink is your one-stop resource for employment and training-related services. Visit CareerLink and you'll have access to many programs and agencies for assistance with economic, educational, and job-related needs. For more information on all the programs available to you, contact CareerLink at 724-434-JOBS. That's 724-434-JOBS.
Led Zeppelin bring us out of the break here. Doug Saltzman, Nick Barczyk, the Afternoon Drive Show on a somewhat mild, maybe a little chilly Wednesday out there. I want to thank Andy Masick for joining us a few moments ago from the Heinz History Center, and now joining him late, and we apologize for that. Tribune Review, TribLive.com, TV writer and critic Rob Owen. Rob, again, as we always do, we thank you for watching the award shows so the rest of us don't have to.
Right.
The Golden Globes the other night on CBS, right out of the gate, a pretty strong criticism of CBS News. That was a pretty strong comment, I thought, by the comedian who hosted it again. But again, the Golden Globes, which really were in trouble just a few years ago, seem to have bounced back.
They have to a degree. I mean, they are now a for-profit enterprise, which they were not prior to, I don't know what year, but certainly within the past 6 years that's changed. The ratings were down again this year, but not as low as they were. I think 2021 might have been the worst rated year. So, they still exist. People still watch them. And it was good. It was good for Pittsburgh because the Pitt won. It was a hat trick following the Emmys and the Critics' Choice Awards. So that was nice to see at least.
When you talk about a show like The Pit and how clearly it's everyone knows it's based in Pittsburgh. There have been shows before based in Pittsburgh. They don't generally have the name Pitt in them, of course. So, yeah, that did bring attention right back here to southwestern Pennsylvania. And, of course, the other change this time around, they expanded into podcasts, and they gave an award for podcasts, but it was sort of an Emmy Award winner who won the podcast this time around. Do you think it's always going to be celebrities who host their own podcasts who are going to be winning these podcast awards as opposed to the average Joe doing one?
I do, because, I mean, it made sense that Amy Poehler won. She's a beloved in the Hollywood community. And I think that, yes, it is. You're not going to have your political podcasters winning. These are Hollywood people. They are going to vote for their own. And the whole award was really created as a way to make more money for the company that owns the Globes now, which also owns the Hollywood Reporter, Variety, and Deadline. And they run all these for-your consideration ads. So it was a way to make them more money, more than it was actually designed to honor podcasters.
There was a bit of an irony of what you said a moment ago, that it used to be a nonprofit. And the Globes almost went away because people were making a profit for their votes. I guess at one point there was accusation of bribery.
Yes, there were ethics scandals around that, but I think you could say that the Globes today are just as fraud as they were back then.
and of course, you and I have talked over the years about so much that TV has changed. And the Oscars now have indicated, yes, they will be on ABC in 26, 27, 28, but then starting in 29, they're not going to be on broadcast TV. They're going to go to YouTube. Do you ever see the Emmys getting off of broadcast TV?
I mean,
entirely?
honestly, I thought when we talked last time, I said I thought the Emmys would go there first before the Oscars, only because the Oscars still get better ratings than the Emmys, and I thought it would be one of the lesser award shows that made that transition. We already had the SAG Awards go to Netflix, but I really thought Emmys would fall before Oscars did. So, I think it's entirely possible that the Emmys go to a streaming service, but then again, if streaming services have already picked up the Oscars, do they even want the Emmys?
Yeah, and of course, YouTube TV is so very popular now. As people cancel cable, they use YouTube TV.
Well, except that's different than YouTube. The Oscars are going to regular YouTube, not to YouTube. I'm sure you'll be able to get it.
Oh, I did not know that. They're going to regular YouTube, not
it's
YouTube TV.
Regular, yes, it's going to regular YouTube.
Again, this is why we have people on Smarter Than Me, which is easy because anybody I pick to be on the air is smarter than I am. So, I just assumed it was on YouTube TV. No, this is just YouTube.
No, it's YouTube.
Okay, I was surprised. I was surprised they were going to something that you had to pay for, but no, this one you'll get. To my gosh, you can watch it.
You can get it you'll be able to get the Oscars for free over regular YouTube,
just like you can right now. Talking to Rob Owen from the Tribune Review, TribLive.com, about the Golden Globes. Were there any awards given that surprised you, or people who were snubbed?
The movie side I don't pay as much attention to, so that's not an area that I know as well. I think on the TV side, everybody expected Adolescence to win. It was unsurprising that The Pit won. I I don't know. I'm not. I'm very bad at thinking about things that jumped out at me as being unusual. But I think, by and large, the awards kind of went in the directions I expected them to go, at least on the TV side.
Yeah, the host seemed to do a good job. Did not hold back at times when you're criticizing the network that the show is actually on that night. I thought that was rather interesting. I should point out, of course, our station is a CBS affiliate as well on the radio side, naturally. But yeah, she did not hold back about stuff like that. And the Golden Globes seem to have those hosts. Ricky Gervais, of course, set the standard for insulting Hollywood, but being edgy. And yeah, there were political comments, but I think they realized that the more political you get, the lower your ratings are getting on shows like this.
Maybe. I mean, they can't really control what the winners say, but the winners also were kind of muted on politics. I mean, there was a theme running through a lot of the acceptance speeches about kindness, and you can certainly take that to the next step and read between the lines what that's talking about. But by and large, it was not super politically, at least not in an overt way. Nikki Glaser, the host, did make a couple of those comments, but certainly the bulk of her commentary was taking shots at the celebrities in attendance way more than it was political jokes.
Right. And I think probably the average person likes when someone can laugh at themselves.
Right.
Certainly, speaking of politics, it works in politics when people could, laugh at themselves and poke fun at themselves. And I think Hollywood needs to do that. They get too big for their britches at times, and that turns people off. But again, it's good to see the Golden Globes come back. There was a point, I mean, were they at the point where they may not have, they literally would have dissolved, or would it have just been like a non-TV award show?
Well, we did have a couple of years where it was a non-televised awards show. It was announced through press release for, I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 years, and that was part COVID, part the Golden Globes Hollywood Foreign Press Association imploding. So that has happened, and we'll see where we go in the future.
Yeah, as TV moves along and it changes. I got an email here at Radio Saltzman at gmail.com saying, "What's not happening in TV that will happen in the future?" Well, that's a great question. If you can answer that one, Rob.
Right. I wish I had a crystal ball, but I dropped mine and it's in a million pieces now.
But there's so much has changed over the years about TV, just not so much happening on cable back in the day, and cable winning so many awards, but the idea of podcasts and the fact that even a TV writer can't keep up with the 400 programs that are running.
Right.
And I've told you how impressed I was when you answer a letter to somebody or an email and say, who asked what happened to this show, and you happily admit, I've never heard of that show. There's just no way to keep up with it, is there?
There is not. There is not. And, now you've got all these free streaming services. I think when you're looking at what is growing the most in television, I think it's those free services, which have ads. But with the cost of Netflix and Paramount Plus and HBO Max rising consistently, people are going for free, even if it means watching ads. So something like Tubi or Pluto TV or any number of free services seem to be growing in popularity. Tubi,
you can get a sense that I watch that since I know how how it goes.
The jingle
that comes on when I turn. Yeah, I haven't had cable in years, and I'm classic at watching the retro shows. And I like those retro shows, but I do try to keep up on the other things as well. Somehow I'm getting emails now 10 times a day from People Magazine. I don't know how that started. But I guess that's my briefing on pop culture is 10 a day. Scandals hitting Hollywood seem to happen left and right. Timothy Busfield, who I remember back in the days of 30-something, is embroiled on a scandal. It just seems like who's next and what's next on something like that. Are they happening more in the industry, or are they just being reported more?
I think probably a little bit of both. I think certainly with the 24/7 news cycle, we hear about things a lot more frequently, and at the same time, probably there is stuff happening pretty consistently that people are getting themselves canceled, in trouble for this, that, or the other thing.
Yeah. It makes you wonder. Obviously, what they're doing is horrendous, but you wonder how they think they can get away with such dreadful behavior. I will never understand that. It just that doesn't make an ounce of sense to me. People who have so much and lose it all because they can't literally behave themselves. Simple as that. And I don't quite understand why that happens or how that happens over the years. Hey, Rob, we appreciate your joining us today. We came to you a little late, but we've had a good long conversation here. And as always, we want folks to be able to follow you. What's the best way to do that on social media?
On social media, Rob Owen TV at Twitter, X, Blue Sky, Threads, all of those, Instagram, and then, of course, at triblive.com and in the print edition as well.
Yeah, and, of course, I think more and more people will be reading your stuff come May when the Post-Gazette bites the dust. No doubt. The Tribune Review over the years doesn't have a Pittsburgh edition like they used to, but I can buy just about anywhere in Allegheny County these days. So
and they just announced today that there is going to be a weekly Pittsburgh edition starting, I think, May 9th.
Oh, interesting. Oh, very interesting. That is, and a sports columnist just switched over from the Post-Gazette to the Trib recently, and so good for the Trib, and we'll see what it becomes. And it's great to have still a paper that prints 6 days a week, as opposed to the Post-Gazette, which was down to 2. Which is hard to believe. So no doubt more people will be reading what you have to say. Rob, thanks so much. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Have a great day.
Right, thank you. Check him out. Google Rob Owen Trib Live. You'll find what and he does a good job covering TV in a time when TV changes every 10 minutes, I think.
Yeah, it certainly does.
Yeah,
Lots of changes in media.
I haven't had cable in over 7 years now.
Wow. And you're still able to watch sports and football and stuff like that?
I get all the over-the-air channels.
Right.
I like baseball on radio, not just because I work in radio, but I like doing other things and listening to the game.
Right.
It's the perfect sport for radio.
Right.
I do miss the Penguins. That's one thing I can't see.
Oh, that's a shame.
And, I do. So what's that mean? I go to my brother's house.
Well, there you go.
And I get there early enough to get dinner because his wife's a great cook, and I stick around for the game.
Oh, perfect. You're made, man. You're made, man.
My mother didn't raise a dummy.
No, absolutely not.
I just haven't had cable
pass up free food
in a long, long time. And frankly, at this point, I really I don't miss it.
Yeah.
I have internet. Honest to God, I think there's 300 channels that you can get.
Oh, I know.
Free streaming. And Rob's absolutely right. Channels like Tubi and others. CBS News at 6 is next on your local station, WMBS Uniontown. Stick around. We're going to talk to Steve Blass and Bob Grove in the next hour.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper. NASA is carrying out its first ever space station evacuation, sending a crew of 4 from the International Space Station back to Earth earlier than expected. CBS's Cammie McCormick.
Undocking confirmed. Endeavour begins its journey home with the Crew 11 crew.
The undocking came after the astronauts orbited Earth 2,600 times. They spent 5 months in space.
As they begin about a 10.5-hour journey to a splashdown off the coast of San Diego in the wee hours Thursday morning.
The mission cut short due to a medical issue with one of the astronauts. There are 2 Americans, a Russian and a Japanese astronaut. NASA has emphasized this is not an emergency, and the astronaut who has not been named is stable.
The U.S. Senate is expected to soon vote on war powers resolution to limit President Trump's ability to further strike Venezuela. It appears unlikely to pass as the White House puts pressure on Republicans.
It's a day that ends in Y, so it's a day that you might decide you don't want to cook. That means it's the perfect day to order Fat Angelo's. Offering delicious pizzas, salads, hoagies, strombolis and calzones, wings, and more. And with 12 locations across the area ready to serve you, today is the day to visit FatAngelosPizza.com, where you can quickly and conveniently find your local shop and place your order online. Or get the local phone number and give them a call. Order up!
Autonomous Danish territory. A day after he told CBS News that there would be very strong actions against the Iranian regime if it hangs accused anti-government protesters. Well, President Trump today says,
"We've been told that the killing in Iran is stopping, and it's stopped, and it's stopping, and there's no plan for executions."
Trump says he has been